Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode on the Boys Play Minecraft modded Mindpack server. Last time we went ahead and got this Tinker's Smeltery set up. Today we're actually going to take a break from Tinker's Smeltery and we're going to get started with thermal expansion. So last episode I had done a basic thermal expansion setup before we even began, and to address the elephant in the room, I kind of changed a lot. There's a lot of stuff going on here. In reality, I actually recorded an entire video on how to get this set up, but unfortunately I made some errors in my judgment, so this setup actually won't work, and we're going to change it into a different setup that will. Before we get started though, I thought it would be a good idea to just talk about the mod pack, the mod in general. If we look at the thermal foundation family of mods, it's actually 3 different mods all mingled in together. The first mod is thermal foundation. This is the mod that spawns different kinds of blocks in the world, different ores, and it is essentially all the materials you need to use for the other mods. We also have thermal expansion. This is essentially all of the machines, all of the power generation, all of the power storage, backpacks, and the like. Thermal expansion is where a lot of the nuts and bolts are going to be found of the mod. And then we also have thermal dynamics. Thermal dynamics is essentially transportation of things. What we have here are flux ducts, which transport your redstone flux or your power. We have fluid ducts, which transport your fluids. We have item ducts that transport items, and we also have viaducts that transport players. So what I had set up last time was a few of these machines. I had an induction smelter, a pulverizer, and a... Did I forget to pull it out? Oh, there it is. Sometimes your inventory gets a little glitchy. And a redstone furnace. These are a few of the more basic machines. The pulverizer here is used to take ores and break them down into powder. That powder you get to actually double your ore output. So 1 piece of ore goes in, 2 pieces of pulverized dust come out. That can then get put into a redstone furnace. This works just like a regular furnace, except that it uses redstone flux instead of using traditional sources of fuel. You can also upgrade these machines and add different augments to make them work faster or more efficiently. The other item the other machine I was using was the induction smelter. This is used for different kinds of recipes. I was actually using it to make this item here called slag. It's used for some recipes later on that I wanted to make sure I had a little bit of a stockpile going on. To make these items, let me look at a crafting bench. To make the redstone furnace, you're going to need some bricks, some copper gears, which are just copper in a grid like that, and a redstone reception coil. This is one of the pieces that tends to get used a lot, so having a way to make a whole bunch of them is usually pretty useful. It's just gold and redstone. Most, if not all, I'm pretty sure all of the machines have the machine frame built inside of them. This is just iron, glass, and a tin gear. The tin gear is made that way. With a lot of these items, you can actually make different machines. You'll notice that the pulverizer and the redstone furnace have pretty much the same recipe. It's just they change these 3 items. The pulverizer uses flint and pistons. The redstone furnace uses bricks and redstone. The other item that I made was the induction smelter. This was a little more involved. This you could almost think of as being a second tier of machine. It again used copper gears and a redstone reception coil and a machine frame, only it used sand here and here and then Invar. An Invar gear is made from Invar ingots. This is one of those alloys that we were talking about last time. The Invar alloy is made by melting down iron with some nickel. It's 2 parts iron and 1 part nickel will give you 3 parts of Invar. I went ahead and made a whole bunch of Invar just so that I would have it, because it's really obnoxious to get in the middle of crafting and have to wait for more Invar to melt. The power generation I had to begin with was this steam dynamo. If I hold shift, it takes, it requires water and solid fuel to create energy. What I tried using in that that video that I recorded that is never going to see the light of day because I deleted everything, was the magmatic dynamo. This uses lava to generate power. Unfortunately, I didn't have a great plan for lava generation. So we're actually going to step back and we're going to use the steam dynamo and the compression dynamo. This will take fluid fuel and coolant. We're going to have a way of generating fluid fuel, and the coolant we're going to use is water. So let me walk you through the little setup I had over here. And for this, I actually have a shovel on me, which is unusual for me. So what I've got back here is the item called the Aqueous Accumulator. If I pull it up in JEI, Aqueous Accumulator is made using iron gears, a device frame, excuse me. The device frame is very similar to the machine frame, except it uses tin and copper, and this redstone servo. Essentially what this does is it harvests water from around here and pumps it out. Connected to that I have this hardened fluid duct, which is taking that fluid and spitting it into this item called the Igneous Extruder. An Igneous Extruder will take water and lava and mix them together to make different kinds of stone. And I had chosen cobblestone here. The reason I chose cobblestone was because I can then have this cobblestone get spit into my magma crucible. This item takes solids and melts them down into liquids. So I had it melt down and form liquid lava. This liquid lava, my plan was to get that liquid lava pumped out the back and into a magmatic dynamo, which would consume it and turn it into fuel, or turn it into power, which would then power these 2 machines. As you can see, though, I've run out of power. And the reason I've run out of power is the amount you get out is not it's not close to the amount that you put into it. I could probably get more power if I used magma block, because it only uses 40,000, whereas this one uses 300,000 for cobblestone. Or if I used netherrack, but I don't really have a way of generating those blocks right now. So I'm going to instead change my plan, and I'm going to use the compression dynamo. The compression dynamo will use fluid fuel and coolant, and if I click on it, if I press U on it, I can see the different kinds of fuel. There's refined oil, which will give me this much power. There's oil, which gives me that much power. There's creosote oil, there's seed oil, but in here there should be tree oil. This is the one that I'm going to be using, tree oil. I'm going to have a way of generating trees and harvesting the materials out of those trees. Now, naturally, these other fuels would be quite a bit better, but for what I need, I think tree oil should be good, and I can actually get multiple farms set up with it. The way that I'm going to generate that tree oil is with the arboreal extractor. It's going to extract fluids from a tree. The trees that I'm going to use are spruce trees, and when you use the arboreal extractor on a spruce tree, you'll get something known as resin. And I apologize if you hear my dogs in the background. They are just going nuts. Resin here can come out of a sawmill, but we're going to use the arboreal extractor to generate it. If I click U on resin, I can put it into this machine called a fractionating still, which refines fluids into other products. I can use resin to create something known as rosin and tree oil. The rosin can then be used in a steam dynamo to generate power. So I'm actually going to have a steam dynamo consuming the rosin and a compression dynamo consuming the tree oil. And those together should get me all the power I need. And if I just need any more power, I can set up multiple dynamos and set up multiple extractors. So I'm going to go ahead and get some crafting set up. I've already got 2 steam dynamos, so I think I'm good here, but I need to create the I need to create the fractionating still, which requires nickel, glass, and constantan. Constantan is another one of those alloys that you can make using tinkers with copper and nickel. It's not a terribly complicated recipe, but I'm also going to need some arboreal extractors. I'm actually planning on using 4 of these for every tree that I make. Nothing too complicated here. Copper, some wood, device frame, and the like. And then we need the compression dynamo. This one will require just tin, iron, and a redstone transmission coil, and that's all materials I have. So I'm going to go ahead and do all of the crafting off screen, and then we'll talk about how to get it set up. And I'll get back to you guys in a minute. Okay, everyone, and we are back. So that took me about an hour to get through all of the crafting, mainly because when I made all of these mistakes in making the magmatic dynamos and the igneous extruder and all that fun stuff, I used up a lot of my resources and actually had to go back out and hunt down some more tin and some more iron and all the fun bits and pieces. But while I was doing that, I actually went ahead and grew a spruce tree. In order to do this method, you're going to have to grow a tree. You can't just place blocks into the world, and you need to keep some leaves up on top. This spawned with some leaves around the base, but I went ahead and just chopped those off. The first thing that I'm going to start with is placing my arboreal extractors around the outside of this tree. Then I'm going to actually dig out underneath. Do I have my shovel with me? I do. I'm going to dig around underneath. I have to be very careful though. This block here, which is directly under the tree, I cannot remove. If I remove that block, the game will no longer recognize it as a tree and the arboreal extractors will stop. Arboreal extractors are classified as, I believe, a device, which means they don't actually need power in order to start working. So you can see I've already started generating some resin. Underneath, I'm going to attach some hardened fluiducts, going all the way around like that. And this is going to get put into my fractionating still. I think I'm going to put one more fluiduct down. I'm going to put my fractionating still right here. So this is going to take in the resin and start converting it into other materials. But first I have to actually configure each of these. All of the thermal foundation and thermal expansion machines have a configuration tab. When you click on this, you get this representation right here. This is the front of the block, the top, the bottom, the left, the right, and the back. And my dogs seem to be going crazy again, so apologies if they start to go, if you can hear them. So what I've done here is I've turned off everything except the bottom. And for the bottom, I'm actually going to turn it to orange, which is extract. I'm also going to make sure that my auto output is enabled. This will allow my machine to immediately spit out the resin as soon as it's got some place to put it. I'm going to repeat that configuration for all of my machines. Now I could leave the left and the right doing whatever they're originally set at, but I didn't really want to. I really don't like the look of that. And then here you can see I've already got some resin. It's already coming in because the bottom was pre-configured for an input. Okay, now I need to take from this the rosin that it's going to generate, which will be a solid right here, and I'm going to put that into my steam dynamo. I'm just going to go ahead and put my steam dynamo right on top. And you'll notice it is doing something weird. Normally, this coil will be facing whichever way I want the power to go. I don't want the power to go into the machine. So I'm going to take my Crescent Hammer. This is a really useful tool when you're working with thermal foundation. It's just iron and tin. You can use this to rotate your blocks around. It works on a lot of blocks, not just thermal foundation. It works on chests. It works on crafting tables. It's kind of interesting how many different blocks it will work on. And if you have it in your hand, you're just going to walk around and accidentally click on something. For the steam dynamo, okay, let me actually jump around. I'm going to cover up a lot of this. For the fractionating still, I want the output yellow to be to the right. I don't need any output to the left. And we'll see about I think we're going to actually output the red output, which is the liquid that's going to get output through the back. So the right is going to spit out the solid into the steam dynamo. And then the fluid is going to come out of this side. Oops. The other great thing about the Crescent Hammer is if you place something wrong, you can just shift right-click and it pops off, and you don't have to worry about mining it away. I'm going to put my Compression Dynamo right here. I'm going to rotate it around to face the same direction. Actually, I want them both facing up. That'll just make it easier later on. The other thing that I need to do is I need to connect up this Aqueous Accumulator to both of these. And you'll notice I am too short of the hardened fluid ducts. So I'm going to come over here and I'm actually going to grab out some hardened glass. I don't remember if they need that. And then it would help if I could type hardened fluid duct. And it requires hardened glass and invar. And I should have both of those. And here we go. And that should automatically pull in the water into the steam dynamo and the compression dynamo. The last thing I need to do is hook up the power to all of those so that any power that is generated here gets put back into my fractionating still. And the last thing I need to do is kickstart my steam dynamo. I'm going to just use can I not use a stick? Okay, then I'll go get a piece of coal. There we go. So I'm going to kickstart my steam dynamo with a piece of coal, or a few pieces of coal. This is going to start generating power, and if I look over here, its power output is there. Maximum power is 40 RF per tick. I can increase that by upgrading this. But that power is going into my fractionating still. It is using that power to consume the resin. It should turn it into the rosin. Normally, actually, I'm going to go ahead and disable this side. The rosin will sit here. I can then tell it to spit the rosin out on the right, and it will go into my steam dynamo. I think. Yes, it will go into the steam dynamo. There it is. The tree oil is actually being generated here. It's not being generated as quickly, but you'll notice my compression dynamo already has a little bit of tree oil. Now this system will automatically generate power without me needing to worry about feeding in any fuel. If I need more power, I can either replicate this setup or I can upgrade these machines. Thermal Foundation has a lot of upgrade kits. They're right here, the Hardened Upgrade, the Reinforced Signalum, and Resonant. They essentially increase your machine to the next tier. Those tiers will allow you to add in augments, as well as just in general increasing the efficiency. Augments are found right here. If I hold shift, it will tell you what kind of device. So these are for pretty much any machine. These are for specific machines: redstone furnace, the pulverizer, the sawmill, the smelter, the induction smelter, and so on. There are also augments for the fuels, or for the dynamos. So these two work for any dynamo. This one also works for any dynamo. Over here we get specific ones for steam dynamo has the turbine conversion. The magmatic dynamo's got one. The compression dynamo's right here. Coolant is no longer consumed. That would be great if I didn't need to worry about it would mean I wouldn't no longer have to worry about constantly pumping in water. I would essentially just toss one bucket of water in and be done. But it's not that hard to set up automatic water generation. Now all I'm going to do is cover this up. I've got some more dirt hiding somewhere. And I'm actually going to cover it up to this level so that this is essentially my ground level. Anytime I want to use a machine, I just have to plop it on here. I can extend this, and actually I think I'm going to extend this leadstone flux duct, and then I can have a whole bunch of machines just sitting on top, and we should be good to go. I think that's going to do it for us today. I apologize if this video is a little on the short side. As I said before, I already recorded all of this and had to scrap it and come back. You know what, before I forget, it would probably be a good idea to light this up. I'll just toss a couple torches around here. I know I've got an issue with torch spam, and I've also got an issue with storage. I'm going to tackle storage in another episode, maybe after I move. This base right here, I haven't decided if I'm going to stay here. I've actually joined up with a town, and I'm going to be doing some work over in the town. It's off in that direction, about 3,000 blocks. But I think I might keep some of my machines over here, especially as I'm testing out different setups. That way I don't lag out the rest of the players over in the town. I can just keep this area separate, and it will only generate lag when the area is loaded. Anyways, if you guys have any questions or comments or suggestions for future videos, please let me know down in the comments, and I hope you guys enjoyed.